I can tell you it's different in Canada. We're so much smaller. And traditionally they'll say, the US is 10, 15x population. We're 40 million, you guys are 4 or 500 million. The hobby space is 30, 40x.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Content. A lot to get into today. We've got a very special guest from north of the border. We've got a card shop owner, entrepreneur, businessman, good dude, coming down from Canada to join us for this week's podcast episode. So excited to talk to John from Mintink about what is going on up in Canada and what honestly it's like to run a business in a different country, especially with cards being so U.S. dominant right now. Excited to learn from him and hear what that is like and what his journey has been like building a massive, one of, if not the biggest brand in Canada. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. We've got another episode in here of Stockwatch with our guy, GabCardStacks, talking all things college football cards in the weekend that was. Some crazy games happening, so excited to catch up with Gabe and understand what is going on in the college card market. But before we get into that, we're going to start with the usual, the one thing on my mind today. That is, are non-sport cards having a moment right now? We talked about this with Elizabeth from PSA last week on the episode. And as we're preparing for this week's episode, we look at some of the, hot, trendy topics in the market, see what's going on, what's happening. And as we look around, we're kind of in this moment right now around a lot of major things happening with non-sport. You obviously had the Disney Chrome release a couple weeks ago. Very open. I love this. I collect this. It's a big part of my hobby journey. Then SpongeBob release happens, and this product for us has crushed. You see some of the sales in the market. We were talking about one of these before we started recording. A triple superfractor sale, one of one of like Patrick, SpongeBob, and Squidward I'm going to pull up the exact number, $21,500 for a triple one of one auto. There's been some big cards pulled out of blasters. We had like a blaster box and shop ripped with an autograph and an SP. This product appears to be a lot of fun and has some really strong secondary market sales. And then on top of that, you got Topps Chrome Dune coming, I believe, in like 1 week, 1 or 2 weeks. Brian, when is it? The 10th. So it'll be dropped later this week, actually, when this podcast drops. That'll be this Friday. Is it Friday? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Friday. So that is coming. So you've got this moment right now. Obviously, Pokemon in general, like we don't hit on a lot of Pokemon in here. It's more traditional like Topps Panini trading cards. For us, that's just a bigger piece of our brand. But Mega Evolutions has crushed as a release. You have another one coming out here before too long. Something Flames. I'm not going to pretend like I know. I just know it's Something Flames. It's going to have a Charizard in it. I was looking at it a little bit earlier. But really having a moment right now with non-sport, with Disney, some of these major sales, some of those pulls, with the Topps Chrome SpongeBob 25th anniversary release, Topps Chrome Dune coming out. It's been cool to see, especially as someone that collects the Disney stuff and enjoys that. It's been a lot of fun to see some of these other non-sport brands come up and really have a lot of success around release. $20,000+ for a Topps Chrome SpongeBob card is cool, but it's also like they don't have a lot of these cards. These cards, there's not a lot of SpongeBob cards on the market you can go and purchase. So someone like myself who grew up with SpongeBob, and I'm sure there's a lot of other collectors my age, some a little younger as well. SpongeBob's been around since we were kids. So to see it in trading cards, again, that nostalgia piece, I realize $21,000 is a little different than nostalgia. That's a little different, but still really cool to see some of these big time releases coming from Topps. A lot of real emphasis around this. We haven't had a lot of these releases in the market for a while. Like, getting cards of some of these characters and some of these non-sport brands hasn't been there. And, I've seen it at Topps in the industry summit for a few years now. I've seen what they're going to do to try to bring some of these brands to life. And it's cool to just see it finally coming to fruition and finally happening. Obviously, it's a lot of fun, and I expect it to continue to grow and become a bigger segment in the market. But on that same topic of release, as we move off of that, we're really in the sweet spot for releases right now. We just had Flawless not too long ago. Prism Black Basketball. I uploaded a video on YouTube ripping a case of Prism Black Basketball. We have our biggest Whatnot stream ever coming up in a few weeks. Shameless plug here. October 23rd. It's a Thursday, 7 p.m. I will be live. It will be the single biggest sale we've ever done, ever. So we're ripping a case of Prism Black Basketball for a YouTube video. This product is incredible. Panini did an amazing job on it. It has a lot of redemptions, but some of the color blasts in there. I happened to hit one of those on video. It was insane. Kind of caught me off guard. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant dual color blast. I think there's a Kyrie, a LeBron, just did like 8,100 on eBay. Some really cool dual color blasts. I'm a big fan of that product. So you go to Flawless, you go to Prism Black Basketball. You get Eminence Basketball, $50,000+ for 10 to 20 cards. Absolutely insane product. Some really cool stuff out of there. Then we're not far from Topps Basketball. Obviously on 10/1, on October 1, a little over a week ago, Topps officially took over the basketball license and posted about some of these big hits, some of the things coming with Topps Basketball. So saw a couple of them on there, things like a Victor Wembanyama auto. Then we saw like a Steph Curry card. I don't know if you guys caught this. It looked like a base to me at first, but in the bottom it says first card 1 of 1. Saw some other things on there like Cooper flag on card autos, triple autos of the top 3 Duke rookies. And then one that really stood out to me was the rookie photo shoot auto. This was a big deal with Topps basketball and football back in the day. I remember the rookie premier autos being a big part of the market. I remember hitting ironically enough, the one I remember hitting was the first time I ever went to the National in 2009. I hit a Mark Sanchez rookie premier rookie auto. An incredible card at the time. Obviously a sad situation for all things involving Mark Sanchez this weekend in Indy. A lot to still unfold there. But Mark Sanchez rookie premier auto back in the day. You used to get them, again, from Topps, just regular Topps. Just the flagship product. They had a hobby and they had a jumbo. Bringing that back, they posted an Ace Bailey photo shoot auto on card to 5. When I talk about these cards being big, Mark Sanchez at the time was a couple $100. Like, you're going to get a lot of those. Some of them have real legs on them, like real sales. The last Steph Curry next day auto sold for $72,000 on Fanatics as a buy it now in August. As a PSA 7 10 auto DNA, did $72,000. There's some big sales around those next day autos. It was always one of my favorite sets. I actually put back, there was one, I think Panini did it in 2015. I put the set together at one point. It was like Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns. I remember a lot of the Kentucky guys like Trey Lyles. I think Miles Turner's in it. It was called something a little different in that year. I don't think it was actually called Next Day Autos. Absolute. There it is. Absolute Next Day Autos. So Devin Booker's obviously the biggest sale. Sold during the COVID boom for 2021 as a PSA 10 for $7K. But these Next Day Autos have been collected for a long time. Cool to see Topps bringing them back in the flagship basketball set. I think this is going to be a really big chase. The Cooper flag, again, whether you think he's going to be an all-star or not, or whether you think I'm talking about him because I'm trying to pump him, that has nothing to do with the fact that there will be people that are looking to buy Cooper flag Next Day Autos. There'll be people buying Ace Bailey. There'll be people buying Dylan Harper. There's going to be people buying all of those. So this is not to sit here and tell you to go buy Next Day Autos. It's just cool to see that Topps is bringing those back and Topps is putting a chase card in a product that is not normally the most desired one. It's a great set for collectors, right? Flagship, Series 1, Series 2, Update, and Baseball is a super popular set. Those boxes sell all the time. They're very easy, not a super high grossing margin product, just a volume one. We sell cases and cases of those. So it's cool to see opportunities to pull life-changing type cards, 5-figure cards, out of a box of flagship. Like, you expect to pull superfractors in Topps Chrome. You expect to pull patch autos in Diamond Icons or Dynasty. But to pull a next day auto out of a flagship box that's going to, be $150, that's a really cool thing. So I'm excited to see Topps adding some really good stuff, like bringing back the next day autos in basketball. I wish they would do it with baseball. I think it would be a really cool addition to baseball with knowing how well they sell in basketball. So excited to see that. Excited to track some of those sales and ultimately see what that looks like in just a couple weeks. We're 2 weeks away from the first basketball release, October 23rd. Actually, the same day our insane whatnot sale happens. So excited to track some of those early sales in just a few weeks when we get Cooper Flag, Steph Curry, LeBron James. Those are coming. Those autos, those cards. Topps basketball is officially here, and we're just a few weeks away from it. Shortly after that, Bowman Chrome U football comes out, the single biggest product release of the year for us. It's not even close. Second is a mile away. This is the single biggest release for our company all year. It's the product I enjoy the most. If you followed our content, this podcast, or YouTube, whatever, you understand how much we love Bowman Chrome U football. It is, in my opinion, the single best college football product on the market. Topps released some more photos of this. Shout out to our guy, GabCardStacks. I saw this on his Twitter. It's some incredible cards. I think the 4 he showed were 3 reds and a blue, and all of them have inscriptions. Shout out to Topps for a really cool addition around the Bowman Chrome Blue. There's a Fernando Mendoza auto. This is the highly coveted, I don't know if prospect's the right word. He's been mocked in a couple drafts as number 1 overall. He's 6th best in Heisman odds at the moment. They go to Eugene here this weekend. We'll see if they can win on Oregon. But he signed it. My first Bowman auto. Really cool to see Topps doing that. They've done it with Victor in the past. It's a big part of the baseball release. Cool to see it coming to college football, assuming other athletes will do it. But they've also showed previews of Pavia, Lenore Sellers, and Garrett Nussmeier. And all of them have inscriptions. All of them are red. Some of them are Twitter or Instagram handles. Some of them are team slogans, like Pavia's for Vandy says like anchor down. And Nussmeier's for LSU says go Tigers. We'll get into more of the college football market with, Stockwatch with Gabe here in a second. But the college market is evolving. NIL has changed it. And it's really, really cool to see Topps adding some of these things to the product. I can tell you that I heard it firsthand at the Topps conference in, I think it was in April, where they talked about mascots are coming. This is something I've been an advocate for a while. I think Topps should add mascot autos, mascot cards, mascot autos, coach cards. I think those would sell. I think stadium cards. There was a 2013, 14, and 15 Upper Deck did a set where you got these mascot college tradition type manufactured patch cards. They sell, some of them sell for $5, $10, $15, $20. They're collected by collectors. There's some of them that are incredibly rare. I have paid hundreds of dollars for some of the mascot cards that Upper Deck has produced. They're really, really cool. And I've got one that's like a Buckeye helmet sticker, the marching band, the Brutus the Buckeye. There's a few different ones, but I think those would be cool additions to the product. But we're making strides in the right direction. We've got mascot cards. We've got mascot autographs. As someone that has the only Brutus 101 black in existence from, I think, 2016 Prism draft picks, I own that card. I will definitely have interest in a Brutus black or Superfractor. That will definitely be something I am looking to add to the collection without question. So as a die-hard college football fan and college card collector, really excited to chase some of those cards because I think they're going to be in demand. Especially if you only have one for a couple schools. How many is the checklist going to be? 5, 10, 15, 20? I think those will be in demand. So excited to see that. You'll get Eminence football. You'll get Flawless football on top of so many other major releases. As you can tell by just some of, the few I've mentioned, we're in a crazy stretch right now. On top of the dozens I haven't even mentioned, you're going to get Absolute Football, Black Football. You're going to start to get into the bulk of the Panini football release here soon. Prism is on the release calendar. We'll see if it gets pushed, but I think we're in a really, really good spot as we start quarter 3, heading into the end of 2025 with some major releases. So excited to see what's coming down the pipeline, and excited to see some of these releases as they get to the market and have some of these sales, like a $21,000 SpongeBob card. I think those headlines, those sales are good for the sports card market from an attention perspective. I think it puts a lot of eyes on the trading card space, and I don't think that's a bad thing as we're trying to grow this space to more and more collectors. So cool to see. One more quick point before we move into our guest here. Topps signed Gavin McKenna to an autograph trading card and I believe memorabilia deal recently. Previewed some cards for Bowman Now, the Topps Now products they drop on the website. They drop these each week after some big games. But his debut jersey is going into trading cards. They previewed a booklet. They previewed a patch auto. Really interesting to see. This really hasn't happened in the hockey market in quite some time now. He is still a college prospect. They obviously have the licensing for Penn State. They're making a college card of him. I would be curious to know how long this deal is and some of the details of it. Obviously, a couple years ago, it happened with Panini signing, who was the Rangers prospect. They signed 2 kids from the Rangers. One of them was a really big deal. It was, we're trying to look it up right now. It was like 2016, am I early? Maybe 2020. Panini signed this hockey prospect. I'll find the name. They signed him to an autograph card deal. And the big thing was they obviously didn't make hockey products. I'm assuming it was more to take it away from Upper Deck. Again, it's neither confirmed nor denied, but it's I obviously can't speak to Panini in that, but they released those and they were in like packs, so you could get them online. It was like a 2-card pack. You got an auto. Started with a K. It was Brian, I think it's right there. I think it's Capo Caco. Yeah, Capo Caco. They made a couple cards of them. It was like a few different autos you could get, and you could get them in like I remember them being like some kind of like redemption pack. Like you could get them with like rewards points, or you could buy them on the website. Yeah, so Caco, and then the other one was like Kratzov. I think they were teammates. He wasn't the big chase in that. So this article is from, what date is this? 2019? Yeah, 2019. So it says, Panini America created a stir in the sports collectibles marketplace last month when it announced that it signed 2019 second overall pick Capo Caco to an exclusive autograph trading card agreement. Today we learned the company's hockey plans are even bigger than initially expected. This is 2019. It says on October 2nd, the company will release 2019 Score Hockey as a direct-to-consumer product available exclusively through iCollectPanini.com. It talks about the other kid. But this was a way to get autographs of him. They were obviously unlicensed, but they had dual autos. They had a couple different things you could pull. But it was a big deal back then because Panini didn't have the hockey license. Topps doesn't have a hockey license. They have, obviously, the ability to print Penn State cards, and he's still in college. But how long does this last? If this kid is as generational as they say he is he going to be in a hockey product when it comes out, or no autographs, similar to this deal? Again, that deal is 6 years old, almost exactly 6 years old. I mean, that's a October 2nd release in 2019. So interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, we don't know the details of that contract. Cool to see that he's going to have cards now. Really cool to see he'll have more cards. I think he's got some Upper Deck cards from like Canadian Hockey League or something like that, like some of the CHL stuff. I think he's got a few autograph cards. But obviously, someone who's a college collector, love seeing that. How much it impacts and what the future looks like with the autograph deal, if he'll be an Upper Deck when he gets to the pros, is TBD. But definitely an interesting headline I caught. It just reminded me of the Capo Caco signing from a couple years ago. All right, let's kick it over to our special guest this week. Our guy John from Mintink in Canada came across the border to sit down with us for a very special interview. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. A very special guest today. Our first guest who has a hobby shop outside of the U.S. We are going to talk to a good friend, but also an excellent businessman and someone I've been fortunate enough to learn a lot from over the past couple of years. So, John, founder of Mintink, the single biggest brand in all of Canada for sports cards, is a guest on today's pod. So John, I first off got to say thank you for coming across the border to join us here, because I know that's an adventure.
I'm an honor. I have a nexus. I'm an honorary American, so it's a little bit easier. But thanks for having me. It's great to be here. We're pretty close too. So, like I said, I'm going to leave here the next day, and I'm going to be in my office in a couple hours, so it helps. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Long time coming.
Yeah. This is we got connected the first time like in person. Really, I think when we went to the expo, spent a lot of time together there. Just bouncing ideas off each other, talking business. And, I would say you're probably one of the people over the last couple of years I've become like closer with, just in terms of like talking business. I think we'll uncover a lot of it on this podcast. But you're somebody I admire in the space who has built something really, really cool, and excited to share that with the audience, and uncover more about who you are and your story. So let's just start there. Let's just start there, because I know a lot about you and what you guys are building up in Canada. But for those who maybe don't know about you, who are you, and how did we get right here?
So I love the up in Canada because it's north.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it is up in Canada.
When I came last night, the immigration system was down, and I was like, almost my flight was going to get canceled. I literally could have got in a car and just drove here in like 4 or 5 hours. So it's like up north. Yeah, I love it. So first, thanks so much for having me. And like, I just want to echo all of those sentiments. Like, super nice to, it's great to meet you, but it's been a great pleasure to become your friend and chat. And like, I admire what you're doing, just as much as you admire what we're doing. Like, the content machine that is CC2 is pretty impressive. Like, you got to be right there at the top. So it's pretty remarkable. How did I start was your question. So I'm in my 40s, and I've literally been doing this for my whole life. The first influence I ever had on cards was 1987 baseball. My neighbor across the street, again, it's Canada in the 80s. Baseball was a thing. That was when the Jays were really good. We're really good again now. And that was it. The first pack of cards I ever opened, my mom bought me a 1989 O-Pee-Chee hockey, Joe Sakic rookie, and I was hooked. And I still have the Joe Sakic card. Love that. Pat LaFontaine was my favorite player growing up, one of the greatest American hockey players ever. So that's kind of where I started. I'm actually a football is my primary sport. I don't play hockey. I just got to preface that because everybody watching this thinks I'm the Canadian guy. Do I look like I play hockey? No, I look like I probably play defense, right? And then I love baseball because I'm a stat junkie. Baseball fantasy is amazing. So cards growing up through that whole era was for me, and we were power selling in eBay in the 90s. High speed internet had just kind of come to fruition. And when the market sort of started to slow down, I just segued into, at that time we were buying out video game stores, movie stores. We were selling, this was the shift from Nintendo and N64 and Sega to the world of PlayStation and Xbox. So there was huge value in that. And I collect lots of toys and whatever have you. So I continued into the 2000s. In 2007, I got engaged and we launched our first business, which was an advertising agency, and this kind of stopped. But my wife will tell you, our first company was called JCAP, which stands for John, Kathy, Amendola Palmer. And I could show you the logo. It was JCAP Toys and Games. And she'll tell you about like rolling in the streets of Toronto looking for, deals. She was getting me bags of Transformers and whatever have you. 2009, we stop. We dive all into the agency. Luckily, I still was a collector. And one of my companies was local community newspapers. And ironically, we would cover these card shows in these, hockey arenas or Legion halls or whatever. So a few times a year, I would be kind of sifting through the paper, and I would be like, oh, there's a card show. I love cards. And in about 2018, when I started to have some, big boy money, as they say, it was one of the things I started to buy again. In 2019, I started to go pretty hard. I was following, that was right around when Gary Vee and Jeff Wilson were really starting to come up. And I was dialed into all that, and it became a hobby. And I started buying all the stuff that I couldn't buy when I was a kid, which obviously, as we know, worked out pretty good. And that's what happened. February 27th, I was just showing you the press release in your office. February 27th, we have 120 people in a snowstorm at an office for a grand opening. We just renovated. I have 16 employees. My agency is going to the next level. And 23 days later, the world was over. And Canada, the pandemic was rough. Like we were locked down for a long time. Over the course of 2 years, it was really bad. So I was in the publishing and events business. So like publishing events and the food industry got decimated, and the fitness industry got decimated by the pandemic. So all of a sudden, I'm like in a boardroom, literally bawling my eyes out with my wife saying like, not only do I have to let 12 people, lay 12 people off on Monday, it's like, we just spent 10 years building this and it's going to be all gone. That didn't last long because crying doesn't pay the bills. And I lasted about a week at home. I was like, I can't work from home. I'm not one of those. So it was great. I was in my 3,000 square foot office by myself. What am I going to do? And I was into my cards, and this is what I'm going to do. So I started to just sell on eBay again and really just buy. And I was buying Gretzky's and Jordans and Rip and Wax. And a couple months later, that summer of 2020, I turned the phone on one day and I had some packs and I went live, and Mintink was just sort of starting to be a thing because I realized, okay, who knows how long this pandemic's going to last? I don't think that business is coming back. I need to do something. And I had some staff that I pushed over, and we were in the business of production. So like similar to this room I'm in, which is today, 6 years later, technology is a lot easier than it was then. And this was the magnitude of what we were outputting at that time, because we were already set up. We were big into real estate coaching and marketing. So we were doing webinars and all that, pre-pandemic. And then this live happened, and within an hour, everything was gone. The next day, I said, I'm going to start a show, and we trademarked Breaks After Dark. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the first time you ever saw us on camera. For sure. Couple, and it was more like the Breakfast Club, some of these, West Coast urban, podcasts that were out there. We were 2-3 people in a studio, and we were just like shooting the breeze, talking sports, watching sports, and ripping cards. It was way more about the entertainment factor than it was about the cards. And then, the rest is history, as they say. There was no looking back. September of 2020 was like my first official month in business. Like now we're 6 months in, and my newspapers are shuttered now, and I'm like never going back into the event business. And we did 10,000 in sales. That was my first month, September of 2020. I'm not going to tell you what I did last month for September, but throw a few zeros on there. Yeah. So it's just remarkable. And that's kind of how it all happened. So it's like, my whole life, this is what I was going to do. And it's, I have a few friends in my life still from high school, and they will tell you, my mother will tell you, my wife will tell you, we were talking about, I get a lot now. How'd you know? 5 or 6 years ago, it was like, dude, you're nuts. What are you doing playing with cards? And now it's, oh my God, how did you know? So it's remarkable how it happened. I've never worked more, but I've never felt so free and retired, if you will. Like I literally work 7 days a week, but it's not work.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Love it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm the same way there. Well, you feel a little joke in there about hockey, so I'm sure we'll get into the hockey conversations. I mean, I've got to ask, as you are in Canada, we'll get into that, but I want to hit a little bit more on, the Mintink thing, because, we kind of breezed by that a little bit. You've built what is it, 25 plus person company. You're the single largest brand in Canada for cards. You have a $10,000 month in September. In 2020, we're 5 years later, you do much more revenue in that. You have 25 plus people. What has the journey been like with Mintink? Like you have a retail store, you have online, you're really good at marketing. I've asked a dozen times for some of the marketing materials. Like you guys are really creative in that. And so like, how has like growing that brand, been to get where you are now?
So not easy.
Yeah.
Even in an industry that's exploded like this one, it's just, it's still, nothing is easy. Like, it is, so it's been extremely challenging, but it's so much fun. And it's like, from a perspective of an entrepreneur, and just like, I just like to win. It really isn't about the money. sure, I would be remiss to say that that's unimportant. Like, of course it is. But for me, winning is more important. So when you're doing something and you keep throwing these insanely lofty goals out there and you keep reaching them,
Yep.
it's very motivating. So, and we've had a rough go. Like I can tell
Yeah.
you, it's different in Canada. We're so much smaller. Traditionally they'll say, the US is 10, 15x population. We're 40 million. You guys are 400 or 500 million. The hobby space is 30, 40x. Like I look at yourself and a bunch of your colleagues that are in that upper echelon, and to have 100 or 200,000 followers on Whatnot is like, for us to get to 10 or 20,000 is a big deal. Like I joke around and I say, like, if I had 150,000 followers, I think I would just need an IV drip because I would never leave my studio, right? So it's like, but we had some crazy challenges. We had mail fraud, 6 figures of mail fraud. This is a story I don't tell a lot. We had 2 parcels stolen. One was a customer's, one was ours, and they were $120,000 peak 2021 market, 120K of PSA 10 value. And we're just getting going, and we're trying to establish ourselves as like the ultimate customer experience in Canada. Part of my vision from the beginning was the fact that this is such a US dominated hobby space. How can I crush that border? Let's bring in PSA, let's bring in Panini, let's bring in Topps, let's do it different. It's not just the hockey market. The mail fraud was horrible, 120K. We paid out every penny to the customers before we even went to the insurance or anything like that. 1021 card was a Mac Jones Gold Kaboom that at the time was like a $30,000 card. And then we had to deal with all the BS rumors that, we stole the card and all this and that. And then, we just like, I learned a long time ago to be like a thoroughbred horse. The reason thoroughbreds have blinders on is because as soon as you pay attention with what's beside or behind you, my name is on the back of this jersey, and I'm content with people just looking at that. And that's not an ego play. I really don't care. I'm genuinely interested in what you're doing and your best practices because we can collab. But at the end of the day, if I worried about what everybody else was doing, it would just slow me down. So I took that there. The next year we got broken into twice. And then the next year we were armed robbed, which is crazy. But they say that adversity defines character. So you find the resilience in yourself and for me and my people. Sorry, it's hard for me to talk about that because, we lost. Oh, it was awful. So I'll tell you, the robbery happened the day before Canada Day. So you have July 4th, we have July 1st.
Yep.
And I was like, this is insane. This is now the 4th incident in 2 years. We're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm suing insurance companies. We're not getting paid. And we just got to keep going. And I got to listen to all this. And I said to Freddie, like, F it. That's it. Like, we're going all in. And he's like, we're not already all in? I was like, no. The next level is coming now. And we put a piece of plywood up on the door. We put a post out. The next day, me and him showed up. And we ran the store, and it was one of our busiest days ever. And I'll tell you, it's been just like, whoom, ever since. So it's like all the karma of going through that and not listening to the noise and just really, standing true to the brand value. And for me, that is, the ultimate customer experience. Consumers want 3 things: convenience, value, and ease. And we really try to give them that. I think that with Mintink, we've really created like what is a blue ocean in a very red, cutthroat industry. We've created a very unique experience. So that was something that I was able to do in Canada. Maybe that would have been more challenging here. Is we were really able to be like a multi. We're not just a breaker. We're not just an e-commerce. We're not just a brick and mortar. Like we created a whole experience. So going through all of that, all of those challenges at the beginning, those first few years, really set us up for what was next. And that was it. In the last 2 years since that, touch wood, we've been, mind you, I mean, my stores are like I build them like banks now, but you have to. You have to. Yeah. But I'll tell you, it's been exciting, and we really strive for the ultimate experience. There's a video on our YouTube page. It's from December of 2020. And I'm just in the studio having a great time ripping. And I don't know what the question I was asked. And I said, Like my ultimate goal is when you think of the hobby in Canada, I want it to be synonymous with Mintink. And I think we're getting there.
Yeah, I would I would 100% agree with that. We got to experience it firsthand. We went up to the expo and just, what you guys are building up there. And that was, what was that, 2022,
Yeah,
2023?
yeah, you guys
Like,
are, yeah, 22, 23.
It's been a couple years, and, obviously we've remained close throughout this. So I've seen what you guys have been building, from afar. But outside of, like, so you mentioned some of the challenges, and obviously those challenges, like getting robbed, $100,000 mail fraud, like, those are, I would say, unique circumstances. Like, those are not, like, everyday occurrences. But outside of that, like, what are some of the, like, maybe the business challenges that you deal with that, like, because this is a U.S. dominated market, like, it's huge in Europe for sure, and Canada is massive as well, but, like, this is a U.S. dominated market. What are some of the things that you've kind of had to deal with from, like, the business side of things that, like, we don't even think about here?
So first and foremost, supply chain. Like supply chain is not easy. There's no direct, like, there's 2-3 distributors in Canada that manage it all for 35 years. So Upper Deck, Panini Tops, Leaf, etc. No direct accounts, no direct hobby accounts, all through distribution, and they're getting, it's crazy. The distributor that has 400 specialty stores in Canada to service will get as much product as some of the larger breaker accounts would in the US, or some of the larger hobby stores would in the US, to service a whole country. So we had to be very resourceful. And then you have things like customs and brokers and this and that. So over time, we really that was the mandate. We're going to bring PSA here. We're going to bring Golden. We're going to bring Fanatics. Fast forward to today, we're the only Tops direct account in Canada. We're an Upper Deck Air store. Panini is still a challenge in Canada. Thankfully, with Tops and the changes that are coming, it is what it is. But we do try to bring a lot in. But supply chain is the number one. There's no shortage of hockey product in Canada. Yeah. But I mean, we sell massive amounts of soccer. I can't keep it in stock. Football, basketball, same thing. So supply chain was a really, really, really big one. And then, just like I said, audience and really getting it out there, because I will tell you, Canada is very unique. And I think you could equate it to, like, your old school, like the baseball collectors. Like, people that collect hockey are actual true hobbyists. They're building sets. They're collecting a specific player. They're not, flippers. Now, like the industry globally, through TCG, through all these other products, now, of course, that's happening. But the true sort of purists definitely have, like, come around to the way the space is today. Like, change is good. Like, I don't think Blockbuster thought Netflix was the best idea once upon a time, or Uber for taxi cabs. But that's definitely been from a outside in supply chain. Inside out, like any business that's growing hyper growth, like we're growing like you, it's so fast you can't even fathom it. I'm smashing 12, 13-hour days and they go by just in a blink of an eye. People is probably the hardest challenge in business. Finding the right people, onboarding them, ensuring they're set up for success, breeding a culture where, people want to come to work, where people want to be there, where they enjoy their coworkers. I'm very intense. You're getting like a laid back, day off version of me, but I'm intense. I'll email at 3 a.m. and there's no niceties. Hi, Ryan, how was your day? It's like, where is this? Why isn't this done? Like, who has the time? So I really have to make sure that I find people that get, like, I'm not here to high five you because you did a good job today. Like, there's programs in place for that. There's leadership in place for that. I try to be, it's really tough to be the leader and the boss. So part of where our growth is now is we're bringing in senior leadership to really just remove myself the rest of the way from the day-to-day, so I can do more of this and build more stores. We're going to expand across Canada. That's the first time I'm saying that. We're about to open our second store in Toronto. There's going to be lots more coming in 2026. And I think those would be the two biggest challenges that we're, and you know what? the people challenge is any business.
Yeah,
and we're really lucky. I have my first 4 employees are all still with me. I have a bunch of them that have been with me for a while, and lots of people come and go in between. We're not for everybody. We're a very fast-paced, accountability-driven environment. There's always something to do. If there's no customers in the store, there's something to do. If there's nobody on the live, there's something to do.
Yep.
Always busy.
But even on top of some of those challenges, like I've seen a couple of them, in 25 alone, that are things that probably make your life more difficult with, post strikes. We had you had a rail strike. I believe.
They're on again
Tariffs.
now. The post strike again last week.
You guys probably have to deal with that way more than we do.
Tariffs were horrible. Tariffs were cost our industry millions and millions of dollars. It was a straight blanket tax, so every single thing that was coming in. So I basically didn't sell panini from March till September 1st. We were bringing in tops. I had no choice. I can't stop that. Upper Deck, that hurt this year. Cup and SPA, our 2 biggest winners, we got taxed 25%. Yeah, so I mean, it's disgusting. The postal strike, horrible. It happened last year right at the holidays. They just went on strike again last week. Now, we live and we learn, and we've moved on from Canada Post. Canada Post is it's a government regulated industry that loses $1 billion a year. They should just close anyway. So we're now into UPS and FedEx and Canpar, and there's a bunch of other really good providers. So those challenges, Canada Post goes on strike, and your e-commerce business goes down, whatnot goes down. And then it's not only just that, it's even though we're robust and we're ahead of it, it's I have to re-educate my customers every week. So the amount of effort and energy that has to go into messaging and content just to say, hey, please don't worry. Your online orders, your eBay orders, your whatnot orders, everything is going to go out status quo. And we eat it. I'm not going to, for a few dollars a package, so the strike costs us money in inconvenience, and it costs us money in time, and it costs us actual hard costs because your $12 package might cost me $15 to send out. That cost me $11 to send out. I'm going to cancel your order or come back to you for $4. I can't do that.
Yep.
So yeah, all those challenges. Now, I would be lying if I said that, I have a team of warriors that I try to take those instances and say, okay, again, let's take this and let's separate us even further from the pack.
Okay.
What can we do to control the situation that our competitors aren't doing? Or I don't even like to use the word competitors because I don't believe, competition is great. Healthy competition is great. I think we're all unique in our own way. I really believe that the high tide raises all ships. Who wins in an environment like this when the space is so robust and growing so fast is the consumers. They have more choice than ever. So my responsibility is to continue to give the ultimate experience to customers so they keep coming back. The first sale is the easiest sale. The second sale is not that difficult. It's when the customer comes back for the third time onward, I'm okay. Now we own that customer. Now the challenge is keeping that customer. Yeah. How do we keep that customer?
So you brought it up earlier. You said, you kind of threw in a joke there about, the hockey, right? This is something we talked a lot about in our content when we came up for the expo.
Yeah.
Because the rumor was always it's 90% hockey. It's 90% hockey. We went up. It was a lot of hockey. It is a lot of hockey. I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. But it definitely wasn't all hockey. There was plenty of other stuff. And it seems like just from our conversations, that has continuously gotten, more diverse in offerings there. How would you say that the Canadian collector's preference, what they prefer to collect differs from a US?
So
where do you see it going?
Yeah, okay. So I love that question. Is the National all baseball anymore?
No.
Okay, so it's the same thing. If you take baseball card collectors and you take hockey card collectors, and I've been collecting baseball and hockey cards for 40 years, they're the same. They're second, third, fourth generation Americans and Canadians. That's their national pastime. They eat, sleep, and breathe by it. Then you take this, NFL, NBA, soccer. It's very urban. Very much more diverse. It's a much younger demographic. Now we throw in the TCG. Like you hear a lot of talk about that. Like, so now you're going to shows and it's 50% of it's TCG. Like Pokemon is the most valuable IP in the world. Like I tell people that it's like worth 5 times Disney. Like One Piece is worth more than Disney. And they just kind of look at me, and Gary talks about it. Right.
Some shots at Disney there.
Well, Disney's great, but what's One Piece, right? So, Gary talks a lot about the overlap happening, and I'm seeing it firsthand. Like I told you, this week we're a pre-release store for Pokemon. What I saw Monday and Tuesday this week for the Mega Evolution pre-release, I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was insane.
We have talked it. Yeah,
it was insane.
That's insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, it is, I was in Vancouver last week for the Van City show. And again, Vancouver is a very diverse market. And it was half TCG and 20% basketball and 20% football and 20% hockey. So you are just like the National at that, again, people have to remember, for those of you that don't understand or don't know, the Toronto Sport Card Expo, I think Burbank is there now, but the Toronto Sport Card Expo for the longest time is the second largest show in the world. It's 280,000 plus square feet. PSA is grading on site. Mike Tyson is there signing 50, 60,000 people through it. So after the National, it's 40 years running and it's massive. So just like the National, it's still, the foundation is, its shelf life is 40, 50 years. And it's just like baseball is to the National, hockey is to the Expo. But, if you come to our booth, we're 20%. We're not a hockey brand. So, so like the whole country sells hockey. Why would I sell hockey? People ask me, I'm like, and there's great, my buddy Grant at GP, who
good guy.
and Luke out west at Quarantine Case Breaks, and there's a couple guys in Ottawa, Cap City. Like these guys do such a great job dominating in that space.
Yep.
There's nobody breaking football. There's nobody breaking. There's nobody doing everything we do, and that was my approach. Like I said earlier, right from day one. Like, I can't compete in Canada without selling hockey, but I need a blue ocean shift. I need to be different. So let's reverse engineer it. It's the 80-20 rule, the opposite. And I'm really happy that it worked out that way, because that's the secret sauce for us was in Canada, was not being a hockey first. And now, we sell lots of hockey, sure.
Yeah.
Tons. But I sold 4 Michael Jordan rookies last week. I sell copious amounts of basketball and football. Soccer is insane. So this is a fun one, because you guys are just like coming on. You guys, Americans, are just coming onto the soccer train.
Yeah.
There's 1 million Europeans in the Toronto area. There's 1 million Mediterraneans. So in Europe, soccer is the sport. So if you come to Toronto and you tell people Messi is better than Ronaldo, that you will get crucified. Now, globally, we understand Messi is better than Ronaldo. For all my fans in the six, and I tell you this, I start this in every piece of content because I get just hammered in the comments, and obviously that's great for the algorithm. But we sell a ton of soccer, so I think that's it. It's the opposite. We are not a hockey first brand, and that's been really set us apart, because I don't have to tell you. Same like us for hockey and you for baseball. And you've been in this space your whole life. I know you've been going to the National since you were a kid. And you see the same progression here. Basketball's bigger than ever before. Football's bigger than ever before. Hockey's bigger than ever before. And you're in a hockey market.
Yep.
And from that perspective, I think, if you come back, I'm going to get you back there this spring, Hope, and you'll see there'll be half as much hockey as there was when you were there the last time.
Yeah, I think it's a really good comparison I hadn't really thought about, in terms of like the Expo versus the National, where you go to the National and that show is like really built on old school baseball collectors. That's really the foundation of that show. And as time has progressed and the market has grown and demand for sports cards has, skyrocketed, as you look at it, there's so much more football and basketball and baseball and soccer and all these other sports. And that's the same thing with the Expo from when we went. It's definitely built on hockey. It is built on hockey.
1,000%.
we met Grant there. Like, he has some crazy cool hockey stuff.
Grant has some
Yeah.
wild hockey cards.
There's some like really cool hockey stuff there, but there, as the market is growing, and I think that's why you guys are, you obviously know this, but like as an outsider, I think that's why you are positioned so well there is, I saw it at that time 18 plus months ago where it's you had some of the best baseball, some of the best basketball, some of the best football. Your selection was so good, and it's as the market has grown and as sports cards are growing in Canada, it's having some of the other sports, not necessarily the one that's been there for the most popular sport for collecting purposes, and I would imagine a long time, like
100 years.
I can't imagine the last time hockey wasn't the main sport in Canada.
100%. Yeah.
So
it still is.
All right, so pivoting over a little bit, we've talked a little bit about some of those like border restrictions, things that we have that you don't, vice versa. Obviously, the market over the last probably 2 years has become, 3 years has really become super tech focused.
Yep.
A lot of different places to sell cards, a lot of different apps in the hobby. What are some of the things, like, are there any that stand out over there that like you don't have that maybe we get to use and almost take for granted here in the US?
So Whatnot just came back in Canada in the last 6 months. That was one for a while. Like we were, we had to stick on the Instagram train for a few years there.
So you had it, and
then we had it, and then they didn't leave, but they left. They kind of stopped all their global expansion because they exploded here. So 2021 into 2022, we launched Whatnot in Canada with Whatnot. I was working with Binder on the project. Everybody knows Binder. And then it just exploded here. And then they shifted their focus into Europe. The hobby is now a global thing, right?
Yeah.
They came back this year, and we stepped it up with them there. But Fanatics Live isn't available in Canada. TikTok Shop isn't available in Canada. Direct grading isn't available in Canada. So as a consumer, you have to use a third-party provider, and there are...
Oh, interesting.
I believe there are 12 or 14 dealers in Canada. That's it. That changed with the tariff. Even before, though, it was so much work. Like, if you wanted to insure your cards, let's say you're sending a Michael Jordan rookie, a Wayne Gretzky rookie away, like you using UPS or FedEx, they're charging you like $100 for every $1,000 in insurance. So like you're gonna pay $1,000 to insure a pack. So we slugged through all that. We have this blanket insurance policy, hence the mail fraud. So we learned through all that. TikTok Shop is a massive one. Like TikTok is slowly taking over the world of social selling, and it's the worst because I get solicited by them every day, and I write back and I'm like, do you even know who you're calling? It's driving me crazy because I keep getting solicited, and then I'm like, I want to engage, and they're not available. This year through the tariffs, like no Panini. It's no Panini. That's pretty tough to run a card shop with no Panini product. But a few of those platforms, Card Dealer Pro is one we've talked about.
Yep.
Mascot is another one. So a lot of this tech that is really now coming on to streamline the space. Like I'm a big tech guy. Like I can't have enough AI. Isn't available. So I'm very persistent, and I'm at these. So I try to be first to market. So, we're PSA Elite Dealer, we're Topps Direct Account, we're the VFriends official partner in Canada. We were tied in with Golden for a number of years. Now, obviously, we're right in with Fanatics. So there's still a bunch.
Yep.
And we've been really fortunate to kind of go after this. I see the opportunity here. Like I said to you, like, oh my God, I wish. It's really tough sometimes because like it's right there. And like I said, the fact that I'm going to leave here in the morning at 9:20 and get on a plane and be in my office for a meeting at 11:30, but I can't sell on TikTok, blows my mind.
All right, so we mentioned opportunities, obviously like Fanatics, TikTok, some opportunities around live selling, like Whatnot is obviously a partner with us. Like they're humongous, but that live selling, eBay's got one. Like that's such a big part of the future of the hobby.
Yeah, eBay Live's not in Canada yet.
Sure.
We have customs issues. There's tariff issues still. Global shipping.
But like outside of that, so like outside of like live selling and some of the tech that you don't have, as you look out into the future, right? You talk about being in expansion mode. Like you hinted, there's another Toronto shop coming, other shops. Like as you look out into the future in Canada, what are some of the other opportunities you see for growth in this space there, whether that's like, you know, uh, card shops, other events like potentially card shows, what do you see as you
Yeah.
look out 18 months
So
and beyond?
we're huge into live events. We do lots of shows, but
Like in-person
we
live
run
events at your
tons of
shop?
events. We run every day. I don't know what you guys call them here, but we have PA days. Like once a month, the kids get a day off school, whatever. Yeah.
What?
The kids get it. It's called a PA day. Or PD day, professional development. So the kids get a day off school, so the teachers can catch up essentially.
Wow.
So on all those days, we run kids collector days. So they're coming in. They're whether it's hockey cards, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, scavenger hunts. So Friday we had one. There's 50 kids in the store. 2-3 times a month we run trade night. So our space is designed for event space. We fit 80 people there. And we give these people a safe, fun environment where they can come do deals, transact, not worry about getting scammed or ripped off. It's a tariff-free zone. People will say to me, but Johnny, you're not making money. I'm like, all right, listen, you don't have to be a smart businessman to know if I give 80 people a place to do business and those 80 people are selling cards and those 80 people rip wax and those 80 people need supplies, like I got to trust the process and hope that because we're giving them this great opportunity, when they do need to buy, they're choosing us first. So I'm very much about lifetime value of customers. I'm just not trying to sell you once. I want to sell you for the rest of your life. So I think the opportunities that lie ahead, besides just like I still think we have 18 to 36 months of this crazy growth. The licensing are going to shift and all that.
Yeah.
I think the opportunity, and this is a big change in consumer behavior post-pandemic anyway,
Yep.
is like these small intimate events, 50 people, 100 people, the camaraderie around that is huge. So like Mintink is a community. We're a lifestyle brand.
Yep.
So for me, that's what I'm going to double down on. So cards, Pokemon, collectibles, toys, like, I am a freak for all things collectibles. And if you come in our space, it's, we're a full collectible experience. I think like we're building, in my point of view anyway, what a Toys R Us should look like at around 5,000 feet, which is today, that's the world we live in. People want close interaction. I want you to come in my store and we know your name.
I think that, I take a step back there when you answer that question, because you made a comment earlier when we were talking around like blinders. You have blinders on. Because the question I asked was, what growth opportunities do you see in the hobby in Canada? And your answer was, this is what we're going to do. And I think that speaks so much to you as a leader, and just the conversation we've had as friends is you really don't care about anybody else. Like, not that it's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. I think
I care about my customers.
I think that's so important, and I think that's what I really admire about you and our conversations is.
Thank you.
It's not about if this person's going to do something great, this competitor, right, is going to do something great, they're going to do something great. But that has no impact on my success, right? We've got the blinders on. We're all gas, no brakes ahead, and I think that's what I see in you there is, because I was going to ask what's next for Mintink, and it's like, well, you just told me, like you just answered, because like your growth opportunities in Canada are your growth opportunities in Canada. Yeah. You're going to grow with the market. And I think the way you look at it is like, you are the market. You want to be the market in Canada. Like you said, you want cards in Canada to be synonymous with Mintink in Canada. And I think it's very impressive what you've built and what you're building. And, I think the cool thing about what you guys are doing is like, you're doing it the right way. Like just good people. Like, I've had the pleasure of meeting the team. We got to meet them and catch up in Fanatics Fest.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I know we caught you in the back. I think you're probably like signing autographs.
Yeah, you're so funny. Says the guy that signs autographs all day. But anyway, I had to wait in line to see you at the National. I'm no VIP.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Again, it's impressive to watch from afar as a friend. Anything else like stand out to you in terms of like what else could be next for you guys? Anything else you
No,
really
I just think that there's so much good stuff happening. I think that competition is great because the consumers benefit, the space gets better. So like, you can say what you want, but the more Tops and Panini fight, the better it is for everybody. The more guys like Kevin O'Leary and Shine buy cards. Like, so one of the so I have a great therapist and a great business coach. She's amazing. Shout out to Mary. So like we talk about this and I, as much as I don't have the blinders on, I know that a lot of people don't have them on and they're watching and it's like, it's so cliche, but you're just wasting your time worrying about what other people are doing. So I think that in one breath, I have that approach. Now, I would be lying to you if I told you I did not consume all day data in the space. I'm watching what I think are the top 20 brands in the space. I'm watching the manufacturers. I'm watching them for best practices. So Mark Cuban, once upon a time, I read a quote that he talked about, and it was basically along the lines of, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just find something and do it better. So if I'm looking at competition, it's not in that traditional sense. It's like, oh, that is cool, let's try it. Vice versa. There's a lot of brands out there that I'll get DMs from people that says like, they're copying your stuff or this and that. Like imitation is the best form of flattery. And the more time you're worrying about what I'm doing, because I don't give a what you're doing, the more you're really literally, I hate to use the analogy, but just looking at the name on the back of the jersey. So I think I will continue to try to create that ultimate experience. I will continue to try to break down barriers. And really, I just want to be different. I want Mintink to be different. And I'll tell you something. I don't read a lot of books. I read 2 books that changed my life, maybe 3. The Tipping Point was the first one. And I recognized in 2019, this business was heading that way. A lifeline collector, all of a sudden I'm watching Gary Vee and Jeff Wilson on podcasts and I'm buying the Buffalo Bills in pull wax breaks. So it's like, wait a second, it's not the mall card shows anymore. Good to great. Jim Collins really changed the game for me. I learned about level 5 leadership. So people will say to me, Johnny, you're the face of the brand. Fine. I'm the face of the brand. I talk about what I love all day, but the reality is it's not about Johnny. It's about Mintink. It has to be about Mintink first. I don't want to micromanage. I don't overstep. I don't change rules. Like it has to be about the brand, and that's what allows it to be about the customers. If I make it about myself, it's not good. The other book that I read is The Blue Ocean Shift, and this is how I answer your question. So the Blue Ocean Shift says when you're in an industry that's very cutthroat, red, right, ocean, you can't be you hear this all the time, right? You can't be the best and the cheapest. It's not possible. You can't, because the math doesn't add up. You can't give the ultimate service. And so you have to create something that's so unique in itself that the price doesn't matter. It goes back to convenience, value, ease. And value isn't necessarily just price-based. Yeah, sure. Now, fast forward to today, we built a very, very, very robust supply chain, and now we can be very competitive. But when I was building, I was $20 more on a hockey box than the store up the road was. And people were supporting us because they saw what we were building. And I would have customers come in and say, I spent $100,000 at that place last year, and they didn't even know my name. My second visit here, you guys are making me coffee, asking me, about my life. So that was very important to me. So that's my commitment to the brand, and the brand's commitment to the people is it's not about being the best. It's just about being ourselves. And for me, that's what's uber important. So I'll continue to jump on the bandwagons that make sense, but more importantly, I will continue to create the wagons that people think are impossible, because that's the cart I want the horse pulling.
I love it, man. We could literally sit here and talk for hours, and we've literally spent, this is obviously before we started, but we spent the first 2.5 hours this morning chatting. Brian was texting us a million times asking,
are we going to go shoot?
Yeah, we're going to go shoot.
I can talk forever, man. Yeah. Anybody that knows me knows that.
Yeah, and I could listen to you talk forever.
I love it.
Again, I've said it half a dozen times a day, but like you guys have really built something cool, and I really admire what,
So have you. Please. Like I said, I think that, what do you got? Like the 3rd largest following? Like there's like what you've done on YouTube, what you've done, like when I see you out there, like I love watching it, man. It's so fun to watch.
Well, I appreciate that a ton. I got to ask one last question.
Give her.
With all that you've built, with all that you've done, with all that you've been through, if you were starting over right now,
I would change nothing.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't ask what you changed. Give me 1 second, because I want some kind of answer out of this.
Okay.
But what advice would you give yourself?
Slow and steady. I'll give you another quote. Sidney Poitier. Slowly is the fastest way to get anywhere. And I come built with 2 speeds, now and right now. So I think for me,
I was like, slow for you seems like the exact opposite.
I have
would
2
expect.
speeds, literally, now and right now. So that's the only thing I've learned the last couple of years. I've really, believe it or not, I've learned patience. People will tell you that, yeah, right. No, but slowly is the fastest way to get anywhere. And I this year I really saw that because we've just exploded.
Yep.
And it wasn't because we were hammering. It was because we took our time. We put all of our ducks in a row. We got the company extremely organized. And then, I mean, you got the secret sauce. You just dial it up at that point. But I had to kind of start over. And this started over. I told you, this started July 1st, 2023, the day after the robbery. It's not been the same. We're not the same enterprise. And that meant I had to change.
Yep.
We took this shift from mom pop, small business to, okay, we're going to go corporate.
Yep.
We're going to go big.
Yep.
And that's going to take time and money and energy, and it's going to suck
Yep.
because it's going to show my financials are going to show a little bit different. But I'll tell you now, 2 years later, I'm really, really, really happy. That would be the only thing I would change would be, but I can't even say that because I had no idea. You had no idea 6 years ago this was going to happen.
Yeah, I know. No.
I knew it was going to be good, but not like this.
I posted about it, but yesterday was the day 7 years ago, I quit my job.
Congrats. That's awesome.
So, 7 years ago, I just wanted to be able to buy and sell cards. And
yeah.
If we would have had a conversation 7 years ago, I would have never in a million years guessed the market would have turned out like this. So,
or you would have built something so cool.
For sure.
Yeah. But that's the passion. Like I see it in you and myself and some of the other people we talk about, like Kyle and Jeff and Blez. Like, what a story. Adam, 40 years later, David Adams. But these people, say what you want about them. The passion, and when I hear people hate on them, I'm just like, you got in front of the camera and do that. Be quiet. I love that. I go after every single one, every single comment. I kill them with kindness. The amount of people that have trolled me that turn around and end up saying, how can I troll you with that kind of character? It's humbling to me, but it's literally just, I have to say what I'm thinking. And I'm very protective of my people and my brand. My fiduciary duty is to make my payroll every 2 weeks. The Magic Paycheck Fairy shows up for the staff. Doesn't work out, right? Shout out to the Magic Paycheck Fairy. So for me, that's crucial. It's so important. That's literally, that's sort of one of my pillars of success is that. Have to have faith, have to trust the process. You have to trust the people, slow and steady, but you must be organized. I learned that the hard way, but I brought in the right people that set me on the right path.
Well, time to, we're going to continue this conversation.
Yeah. Love it.
Continue to try to be a sponge, but if people want to find you,
yeah,
you guys, where
so we're Mintink.ca and Mintink.com. Took me 5 years to buy that one. I just scooped that this year. I got to talk. I think it's not quite forwarded yet. We ship worldwide. We're live on Whatnot 7 days a week. If you're in the Toronto area, we have a couple of stores. Just find us. If you Google card shop near me, we own Google. Not literally. I wish I don't even have Google stock, but we'll come up. We have a store in Vaughan. We're opening one in Ajax. We're looking outside of Province. You can find me on social media, Johnny A. Cards, Mintink. I manage my own content. I'm very available. I respond to every DM. I'm obsessed with that stuff. Again, that's all part of the customer experience. And I love it. Reach out anytime. Love to talk, clearly. And I just love to collab. And one of my favorite things in life is networking and meeting new people. I love meeting new people.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you. No, thank you for having me. And congratulations again to you on all your success. And this is such a great... I can't wait to see this. Is awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate you coming down and joining us. And next time we'll come up to you.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Live at the expo.
Let's go.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. We're here, week number 3 in Stockwatch. I've got the man, the myth, the legend, GabCardStacks, joining us once again for another episode. My friend, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. This was a great weekend of college football. Everyone going into the week was like, "Oh, this is kind of a not so great slate," and it ended up being fantastic. And I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. I mean, shout out to you for the quote. You told it to me off camera. I actually think I said it on camera last week. You said, "What is James Franklin? You know, what has that guy done at Penn State?" And I think the quote was something around, "He doesn't lose games he's not supposed to, except when you go on the road and play 0-4 UCLA. You know, maybe we let those slip." So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Florida maybe being back, Texas maybe not being back. We're Miami looking good, Ohio State looking good. It's gonna be a fun episode, but we're gonna start with the usual, what we do every week, the bulk, the meat and potatoes of this segment. We're gonna start with our Stockwatch, our three up, our three down. I actually don't know who any of your guys are on this list, so I'm excited to kind of learn with everyone else here. But let's start with the stock up. Big weekend.
All right.
Who do we have? Who are three guys on stock up this week?
Yes. So I will go in no particular order here, but I'm gonna start with Ty Simpson, Alabama quarterback. Last week I had Diego Pavia, and I was like, all right, 5-0 for the first time in a long time, going up against Alabama. Ty didn't have like an amazing game, but he did jump up in the Heisman
Mm-hmm.
odds. So I think that's kind of my angle here of just like, hey, they've bounced back after that Florida State win. They seem to be getting better every single week. So Ty, I do know I've sold a couple of his Inception autos. Those went up to like $35, which is kind of crazy. Those were like in the off season, closer to 10 to 12 or so. So we're seeing a big price jump with Ty
Oh yeah.
Simpson. I think I'm liking Alabama's direction that they're trending in. I feel a lot more safer with them, a lot more comfortable. So I'm going Ty Simpson there
Real
to
quick
start.
before you move on, couple noticeable sales here. So Ty Simpson is not he's not a one and done in Bowman Chrome U. He's a lifer really at this point. It feels like he's got a first. Looks like it might be in a practice jersey or a spring jersey, but he's got a green sale from yesterday on Sunday, and $93 for a first green sale. That's a strong sale. And then you've got second year Bowman Chrome U refractor auto to $4.99 at $42 at bids. Non first refractor auto for $42. I'm going to name a couple other sales here, but I can't imagine that card was more than $25 3 months ago. So likely some pretty solid increase there. Brian, scroll up a little bit more here. So we're referencing Card Ladder for this, but a first base auto sold yesterday as well at $45 for a first base. Last Inception sale was $30. Another second year base auto did $28 at bids. A gold auto out of 50 first. Want to take a guess at what this sold for? Sold out.
200.
Good guess.
One.
220.
Wow. Okay.
Sold this morning.
I was, wow. Okay. I would have guessed 180. Then I was like, oh, I'll go 200.
Yeah, so we're
And
recording this on Monday, so this is recorded a little early. But yeah, it's a gold sale. Did 220 a bid. So yeah, Ty Simpson market definitely headed in the right direction. I will give credit until the end of time, especially if he ever does anything. But Ty Simpson has always been your guy.
yes. Yeah. And luckily this one's worked out. So that is by far, like from the beginning, that's been my biggest investment or purchase. So Ty Simpson, number one. Number two, Carson Beck. Had a great game versus Florida State, 4 touchdowns. And again, I was out on Miami all off season. They were like them in South Carolina were my Florida State of last year's. Where I'm like, I don't know how Miami's doing it. They got Malachi Tony, this true freshman kid. Ruben Bain is destroying everybody, and they just keep winning. The rest of their schedule looks very, very, very doable. So I'm very much in on Carson Beck. I actually bought 2 of his Bowman First autos this weekend
Yep.
once I saw that schedule, and I'm in on Carson Beck. He's back. His prices have gone from like $20, $25 on a Bowman First. Now they're up to like 60, and
But
you're not finding them under that.
But I think the important part of the Carson Beck story is where they were to where they went to where they back up, where they are back, to now. It's like a roller coaster for those cars because when Carson Beck stuff came out, it wasn't exactly like the cheapest. And as like, Georgia's a powerhouse. So like as Georgia has continued to, produce it, those cars kind of creeped up, they were in the playoff hunt. Like who did they lose to last year in the playoff? Was it Penn State or Notre Dame?
Texas?
No. Texas beat Cam Scatterbo on the no targeting call. It was Notre Dame or Penn State, I think. Hold on, Brian's pulling it up. Who did Georgia lose to in the playoffs? It was Notre Dame or Penn State? Notre Dame.
Oh.
Yeah, because it was right after Jack Beck's brother died.
Okay.
And remember they played in like Louisiana?
Yeah, the day after.
Yeah, and they delayed the start of the game because of that. Yeah, Notre Dame and Georgia. That's who it was. So like Carson Beck stuff was moving. Then they get beat. Carson Beck transfers. So his stuff has seen a roller coaster, but we sold some Carson Beck stuff this weekend. Definitely feels like I don't have as much Ty Simpson stuff. I had plenty more Carson Beck. But definitely have seen a run on some Carson Beck stuff lately. And like you said, schedule doesn't look too crazy. That conference looks pretty wide open. And they definitely right now look like one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm in on Carson Beck. Like you said, that is a crazy roller coaster. Kind of like Cade Klubnik, although that kind of just kept going down to start the year. But Carson Beck now might be one of the guys who's like, it was way up, hit rock bottom, and now it's trending back up. So
for sure,
I'm liking Miami. Last one, running back. Okay, Ryan, when's the Ohio State guy gonna be here? Well, you're gonna have to wait another week because I've got Justice Haynes here, running back Michigan.
Ugh.
This kid's on. He's got like 600 yards. He's outperformed his total. He ran all over. Who did they play? I'm even blanking on
Wisconsin,
that.
Fickle.
Wisconsin, yes. So, this kid's just unstoppable. And I learned this week his Bowman First autos are like at $50. Like you're not finding them under that. So, pretty crazy. Those were like maybe $20 in the preseason, off season. I'm sure there's probably some crazy golds and greens that are hitting $100.
Yeah, he sells pretty well. Like a Leaf auto to 3 did $25. First auto just did $50. Someone got a green at a pretty good deal, did $45. You got a gold auto, did $75. He's got the Alabama auto, does about $20 from the Bowman NIL. So yeah, he's definitely got some sales. I mean, I've seen some of the game scores. Obviously, I keep a close eye on them, just understanding what that game means. In Columbus, Ohio. So yeah, I mean, looks to be pretty solid. Shout out to Card Collector 2 Sports Cards for the single highest Justice Haynes sale ever. For the Bowman Chrome U Superfractor 101 Auto PSA 10 that sold last July before the National. So $600 was that sale. I feel like that's it's probably not a bad one, right about now.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
I'm sorry. And actually the third highest sale ever as well. The Pad Pradasha 101 Auto for $250. So I think we owned a couple of his cards at one point, and sure enough, the Pad Pradasha and the Bowman Chrome U Super came through our shop. So yeah, pretty cool to see a couple of his bigger sales on there. But unfortunately, has played for two of my least favorite teams ever with Alabama and Michigan. But yeah, no denying he's hot right now. I mean, I feel like the Underwood market is still. It's one of those guys that I look at as like still higher than he probably should be. I mean, it's got to be so much on future potential because he's not the reason they're winning a bunch of big games, but his stuff still sells for, a crazy amount of money. But $50, like I think this is worth pointing out on just how much the card market, especially in NIL, has changed. But I would say this is even true across, football, the whole entire football market as well. Is these sales for a running back are impressive, right? Like the market is based solely, it has been for a long time, on quarterbacks run the football market. It's always, you go into the college football season, you go into the pro football season, we're not talking about Justice Haynes like we are talking about Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik and Lagway and Arch Manning and all of those guys. But to see guys like, Justice Haynes is a great one. Jeremiah Love is a good one. Jeremiah Smith sells incredibly well. You're starting to see more and more of this happening, but it's guys like this. You look at and you're like, $50 for a base auto of a running back that's not even on that same team he's pictured in tells you how far the card market has come, but specifically college football cards.
Yeah, for sure. So wanted to give him some love. He's dominating. He's been very good. I haven't seen too much, outside of like Jeremiah Love for like the draft perspective, where this guy would line up if he's going to push him for running back one. I don't know. This one's also kind of wide open when you look at like 2026 draft at running back. So those are my 3 up. 3 down. I've got 2 for sure, and then 1. I'm like, all right, do we want to pick on the guy some more? I'm sure we will. But anyways, I will start with Thomas Castellanos. quarterback, Florida State. Just started out super hot for him with that Alabama win. His base autos that day jumped from like 15 to like 35-ish, and they kind of kept climbing up. He's probably got some solid like fuchsia sales in there, and it looked like Florida State was going to be a real contender. Now back-to-back losses, I think. They had Virginia in overtime, and then this week too. They came back a little bit, first Miami. But just I think it's over for him. That was a nice little run for the first few weeks coming off that Bama win, but that is starting to tank. People are starting to like undercut on the market. Like they've gone from like 30 to under 20, I feel like, in the past few days. So
yeah, the last Bowman's Best auto refractor did $4.25. His last Bowman Chrome refractor auto did $2.99, did $12.50. So yeah, they've dropped a good bit. Last two fuchsia autos did $16.50 and $15.50.
Wow. The fuchsia was like a $50, $60 card maybe 2 weeks ago before that first loss. So
yeah, they're down a ways.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see Thomas. He was a guy that I wanted to stay away from. He's a good little athlete, but just the win versus Alabama definitely kind of gave him some shine. So that's number one. Number two, I'll go with Arch Manning. I think your last text me was Arch Manning is not it. And it's just a loss to Florida. Not good. This was a very winnable game for them going in. And you're like, hey, I like Texas' chances to get back up. And they dropped that one. And now you just don't know. You don't know what Texas is right now. So we're kind of 100%. In limbo. What's going to happen. So they do have Oklahoma Red River rivalry up against a backup sophomore quarterback. I don't know. It's a rivalry game. That game's always high scoring. Anything can happen, but it's not by any means like, hey, they should win this game and get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at Arch Manning as one of the biggest disappointments so far this season, just from the sheer hype alone. But there's been a lot of talk that maybe Arch Manning wasn't great. He played against you and I in high school. Like, he wasn't playing against, crazy 5-star athletes. Like, I've seen some of the Arch Manning high school tape where he's just running around in circles against, chubby little white kids. Like, he's not playing like 5-star D1 athletes. And he gets there and there was a lot of talk that like they should have replaced him with Quinn, or replaced Quinn with him last year, in the playoff. And you're just like, I watched the Florida game. I'm like, he makes a couple, like I saw him in Columbus, right? He made a couple throws. I'm like, that's a tough throw. And then he just makes some that I'm like, these are bonehead decisions. Like, what is he doing? Like, they don't look like they're good throws. Like, they play in the SEC now. So, if they don't figure out a way to win a lot of games, they're not even ranked. They have no Power 4 wins. None. They've not beaten anybody of any substance. Like, it's Sam Ehlinger said a couple years ago, Texas is back, and I say here today to tell you, Texas is not back. They're a ways away from being back.
Yeah. I mean, it's week 7, and we don't know what Texas is, and like,
we know they're not ranked. We know that.
Yeah, and like, so hopefully a big game just against OU this weekend, but definitely down from where he was obviously 8 weeks ago. Okay, next one. So this one I struggled with. You could go back to the Drew Aller, and we touched on it, so I'll do that. But before I do that, I was debating between Aiden Childs and Drew Aller, but we'll go to Drew Aller just because we opened with Penn State there. So yeah, now back-to-back losses. Another team, no Power 4 wins with their non-conference that they had. Only one Group of 5 win, I believe, as well. Yeah, it's looking tough. Now, Ryan, I do have a question for you, though, about this. Just like, with this loss, does this make you like more nervous to play Penn State? Does it make you more nervous?
Yeah, it's such a fair question where it's like you see this team play, like, and you're like, they lose to UCLA. They're like, oh, this team's terrible. And they're going to come into Columbus, and I promise we're going to get the best Penn State has for sure. Like, they're going on the road, everything to play for. Like, this is a season-defying game for Penn State in a couple weeks. November 1st in Columbus, Ohio. Season-defying game for Penn State. You lose. You have 3 losses. You've lost to Oregon. You've lost to UCLA. You've lost to Ohio State. You can't afford to lose and still go to the playoff. You won't be in relevancy in the Big Ten if you lose the rest of the year. I mean, obviously I'm nervous because I know the implications of it. It's hard because I sit here and obviously I watch every Ohio State game, every snap. And I watch this Ohio State team and I'm like, this Ohio State team is special. They're good. They're good. Arvell Reese, I will say it until he's a first-round draft pick. This dude is incredible. You got Caleb Downs. Like I won't go into my Ohio State spiel. We don't have a ton of time. I sit here right now and I'm like, this Ohio State team is legit, and it's at home. Give me the Buckeyes. Obviously, I wouldn't pick anybody else. Like you know that, but yeah, I mean, like you're always nervous when a team with that kind of talent comes to town, right? It's not like Penn State doesn't have good players. They have great players. Like they have one of the best running back tandems in the country. Like Danny Dennis Sutton is an animal. Like Drew Aller has the build you want to go play quarterback at the next level. Could they figure it out? Sure. You also got to put some of this on, like, I'm also betting on James Franklin. Like, James Franklin doesn't win big games. Like, we talked about this. Then he goes to UCLA and lays an egg. Nico runs wild all over them. I was waiting for you to say Nico's back on here. I said last week, I'm like, I don't know what optimism you got about this guy's cards. The dude runs for 3 touchdown throws for 2. They lost to a dude that's never called a play with a headset. He's like, I never even called one of these plays. I never even used this headset. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Penn State should have lost that game. They're such a talented team. So yeah, like I'm nervous, but I would sit right here right now and tell you I'm picking the Buckeyes to win, at home.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I was just curious. I was thinking about that this morning because I'm like, just some of those games are like, what would make you nervous? Like Northwestern at 11 a.m. Trying to get up for them. That's a scary game.
Yeah, I mean Ryan Day's 50-1 against unranked teams. The only loss, though, is last year's Michigan game. When you get in those games, when you get in those moments against teams that also have talented players on them, anything can happen. Like, those are, Penn State likes to call us their rival. Our rivalry is the team up north. It's not Penn State. But it doesn't mean those games, anything can happen. Like, that's a game we can't overlook. That's a good program. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, Drew Aller actually did sell a Bowman First Auto, though, after the game for like $87, I think. I don't know where his the bottom of his market was, but I was actually surprised. It was going to Happy Valley though, so they're just die hard.
Starting to make a little bit more sense there.
Yes. So 3 up, 3 down.
Let's hit a little bit more on what we saw this weekend. What'd you like? What you didn't like? Anything you're kind of keeping an eye on after a more eventful weekend than we probably would have anticipated.
Yeah, so a couple guys that I'm keeping an eye on, and I'm like, you know what? I think there's something there. Not necessarily, the quarterback per se, but just the team and the direction and where they're going. Dylan Raiola. So not like a huge win versus Michigan State, but looking at their schedule, I'm like, hey, this is a team before the season started. I was like, maybe like 8-9 wins, maybe 10 optimistically. I know they dropped it to Michigan, but I like where they're going, and I'm not like a huge Raiola guy, but just everything that they've got. I'm kind of a Matt Rule guy, and then going into the rest of their schedule, I'm keeping an eye on Dylan Raiola just to see what happens. Any comments or concerns?
No, I mean, the guy wants to be Patrick Mahomes really, really bad. That's probably my only real comment about Dylan Raiola. I mean, obviously all the talent in the world, right? I mean, 5-star kid, originally committed to Ohio State, Georgia, ends up in Nebraska. The Michigan game was close. I really thought they were going to pull that out. Didn't work out, but yeah, I mean, do they play any major teams left in the Big Ten?
I don't think so.
They don't play Ohio State. I don't think they play Oregon, and I don't know if they play Penn State. All right, I've got it up. Yeah, they do play Penn State. So there's your test. They got a couple sneaky tough games in here. So they play at your guy. What's his Malik? What's the Maryland kid's name?
Malik Washington.
Malik Washington. They go to Maryland this weekend. They go to Maryland. They play PJ Fleck in Minnesota next Friday. Northwestern at home. USC at home. UCLA on the road. Then at Penn State coming off a bye. And then Thanksgiving weekend they play Iowa at home. So a couple tough games still in there. I mean, again, you're going to learn a lot about them at Penn State, but some of those other, Maryland this weekend is going to tell you a lot about where, Nebraska may finish the season.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not impossible that it wouldn't be impossible that they only lose 2 games.
Yeah, which I think going into next season, it's all right. Matt Rule's kind of got this thing going. Rayola now entering his third year. I'm like, all right, I'm seeing the projection here. So, I'm
But in all seriousness, I think we have to think about this. A two-loss Nebraska team. Does a two-loss Nebraska team losing to Penn State and Michigan, assuming they beat everyone else, they beat USC, they beat Iowa, does Dylan Raiola lead them to the playoff this year with 2 losses? You're going to assume no Big Ten title, because I'm going to assume, for the sake of this argument, Ohio State and Oregon win out and meet in Indy undefeated, play for a Big Ten title. One of those teams loses, those teams are a lock to get in. A lock. Does Raiola get in with 2 losses and no, like the best win being Maryland, USC, Iowa, Michigan State, Boston College, Cincinnati? I mean, that could be a big win. Cincinnati just beat, Iowa State. So do they get in with 2 losses and no, I mean, your best win being Cincinnati, Maryland, USC? I mean, I don't know which one of those is your best win, but are they getting in?
they're in the mix. They're in the conversation, and they can have their fan base get angry for when they don't get in, and that's every team that misses the cut. But I wouldn't hate if they're like in the top 16 in the consideration. But I think, well, I don't know, because then does the committee like value a major brand, right, for TV nonsense and stuff, or do they go with like a 10-2 Notre Dame, kind of a similar resume perhaps?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is 2 losses feels like it could get you in this year. Like with just so many teams losing, it just feels like 2 losses could get you in. So you're going to learn a lot about the Indiana Hoosiers this weekend. I am definitely keeping an eye on this. They beat the brakes off of Illinois. Got some people here that are big Hoosiers fans, some people, part of our team that are big Hoosiers fans. Kurt loves to, he's a big instigator, man. He says, Google me. This guy's got his team playing incredibly well. Fernando Mendoza. This kid's been talked about as number 1 pick. Heisman, I think he's 6th right now in Heisman projections. This was the kind of hype Indiana had last year going into Columbus undefeated. I was there, Bowman Chrome release weekend. It was magical. Beat the brakes off of that Indiana Hoosiers team. Indiana now travels to Eugene to play what I believe to be one of the top 3 teams in the country in the Oregon Ducks in Eugene. You're going to learn a lot about those 2 teams this weekend.
Yes. But, I mean, it's just one of those games where, I think Oregon's just always kind of stepped up to those games, and, Indiana, aside from Illinois, has always kind of gotten thwomped by the better team, when they're playing some big time programs. And then I just what I always come back to is just I'm looking forward to Sunday morning when there's that Dan Lanning hype video that comes out and he's mic'd up and everything is behind the scenes. It's just something you can depend on.
Shout out Dan Lanning. All right, any other thing to keep an eye out for this weekend, or we're gonna go into the last little segment here?
No, yeah, let's do the last segment.
All right, so one thing we wanna add to this, we think we can help provide some value. I think both of us would sit here and tell you that we love a good value box, love a good hunt for a deal. College football cards are oftentimes underappreciated in the market. There's opportunities out there to find some cool cards in value boxes to make some plays on. So I'm gonna get this from you. One guy to keep an eye out for. Who is our value box find of the week? Who are we looking for at shows this weekend in the value box?
Okay, our inaugural value box player of the week, Kingston Viamu Asa, linebacker, Notre Dame. I think he's a sophomore, maybe a redshirt freshman. I don't know how many games he played last year. I was intrigued by him a couple months ago when he was in the Onyx set. So Onyx, nice little on-card auto set, unlicensed, but he's a St. John Bosco kid, a powerhouse out of California. Just this kind of cool hybrid linebacker edge guy. Yep. He also has autos in Leaf as of late and some of their newest products. His Leaf autos do $50 plus, and his Onyx, for whatever reason, maybe it's just Onyx, but that's around $10, maybe up to $15 at this point. But he had some pretty insane PFF grades 2 weeks ago, and that's when I first tweeted about it, and I was like, yo, there's some serious sales going on for this kid. And then he played out of his mind this last weekend. I've got some stats for you. He led Notre Dame linebackers with 62 snaps. He had 8 tackles, a tackle for loss, 4 pressures, 3 run stops, and a 4th down pass breakup. So went nuclear, and I haven't checked his prices since, but he's a name that nobody, I imagine, really knows at shows, and he's just in your $1 box, $2 box for Leaf football product. And they're doing big money.
An out of 6 auto just did $45 on eBay from Leaf.
Yeah.
An out of 7 auto, eclectic flash pink sparkle auto to 7 did $45. So definitely somebody you could find, again, unlicensed numbered to 7 auto of a defensive player. Most people are probably passing that up. And you have multiple sales above $40 for Leaf autos recently. Not a lot of love on the Onyx auto, but some of the Leaf autos have done incredibly well.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm going to continue to pitch the Arvell Reese hype train until the end of time. I think this is one of the best linebackers in the country. I think he's going to be an incredible pro. So has very few cards right now, very very few cards right now. But once we get you out here to Columbus to watch a game up close and in person, as soon as you're able to get out here, we'll take you to one of these games and we'll watch it up close and personal. And I think we'll finally be able to get a Buckeye on the stock up for the week. I think we'll finally get one on there, whether it's Bo Jackson or Carnell Tate or Julian Sayin or Arvell Reese. I think that'll finally be the time we get one of them on there. So looking forward to finally seeing a Buckeye make an appearance on our value box play, our stock up. Hopefully no stock down. I couldn't do that for the first one being featured in the show, but hopefully it's on stock up before too long.
Yeah, maybe that's been my plan all along. I've just been trying to keep it in the back of your mind.
Maybe. All right. That's all I got for now. We are running out of time. Shout out to everybody who listened. Make sure you guys leave those reviews, drop some comments on how we can continue to improve. But shout out to everybody for once again listening to another episode of Stockwatch. All right. Hey, a really fun episode once again this week. Shout out to our guy John. Shout out to our guy Gabe. Gabe is obviously a regular at this point. Excited to really continue to build that. So if you guys ever have any feedback, as always, let us know there. Hopefully before too long, we'll get into the Bowman Chrome U checklist as it gets closer. Really start talking about some of those. The release is right around the corner. I think we're about 3 weeks away from that at this point, assuming it doesn't change. Should be right before Ohio State takes on Penn State, last day in October here. 10/31 release is scheduled for that. And then a 11-1 Ohio State Penn State game. So should be a big weekend here in Columbus for that release. So we'll dive deeper into that with Gabe here before too long. Big release week this week. I mentioned it kind of earlier in the episode, just all the products coming out. A lot of them this week. You got Black Football, big time RPA patch, rookie patch auto set. Usually some cool vet autos in this. We'll see what it looks like this year, but a lot of demand early for this. Black Football FOTL sold out at $500, almost $600 a box. A major FOTL release for a product that doesn't have a lot of cards. There's just not a lot of football been released. We're into football season. There's a lot of demand for football. Certified got pushed back. We need some of these football releases. The market is ready for the next release. Looks like we're going to get some of those here soon, but Black Football is scheduled to drop this week. 24-25 Ultimate Collection Hockey, a great hockey product. One of my favorites personally. A lot of fun. You get some really cool shields in this product. 24-25. So that'll drop this week. Flawless Football drops tomorrow, 10/9. One of, if not the biggest product, usually most years I would tell you Flawless is the biggest product they release in the market. But in a couple weeks we have Eminence Football 2024, and that is not an every year type product. At least it hasn't been, but that is a massive, massive release. There's nothing really outside of like Topps Transcendent. There's not a lot that really competes with the Eminence. It's really Transcendent and Eminence is the 1A, 1B in terms of premier products in all of trading cards. And then last but not least, I mentioned it earlier in the very beginning, non-sport. Topps Chrome Dune drops this week. So another non-sport release from our friends at Topps. So a lot of different stuff, but again, these release points we do here at the podcast are going to continue to build because we're really going to get into some big release weeks here coming up. There's a lot of product on the horizon. So shout out to y'all if you made it this far. Shout out to everybody for once again listening to another episode of Cards and Content. But for now, that is all I got. Peace, guys.